I think that as a channel, that we need to find a way when we're making that transformation from the traditional ordering process to an online environment is to continue to make sure that those services are visible to them. Typically what we see on a B2B website today is that everything is about the product. So you drive them to the product, and then it becomes a decision about the price point, because all of the valuable services that you offer, which are maybe shown on your front page website, have completely disappeared by the time they get to the product detail page. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for distribution to set themselves apart from competitors like Lowe's or Home Depot, Grainger, Amazon, et cetera, to continue to highlight those services. Let's not lose that visibility to the services just because we made a move to the online environment.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I would guess too that as we're talking about these technologies, we had a couple manufacturers in the room. So I wanted to, we've talked a lot about the customer side. Can you share a little bit more about what you're doing on the vendor side in terms of how you're interacting with them in a technology capacity?
Sure. Real quick for me, it's something I've been begging for years, which is web services, and we're starting to finally see that. Years and years ago, when we saw the smoke and mirrors, I call it smoke and mirrors, they actually have the software, and that's SAP. They said back in the day, from the manufacturer all the way down to the end customer, you could have one software solution and everybody be happy. And, obviously that didn't take place in every case, but for me, it opened my eyes to see, it's more than just websites. And, it's amazing how many manufacturers over years and years and years to come in our doors and say, hey, we got this great new website. And I've tried it with our contractors, and they say the same thing. Say, look, that's great, but what about just getting the data into my system, having it accurate, so we can base the decisions? And that way, we just have to learn our own system, which is a challenge enough, especially with the turnover we deal with. And I don't have to learn 2,000 manufacturers' websites and all the various different ways to put in information. So that's our challenge for years, is getting the data in and out of our system to manufacturers. And we finally have at least a half a dozen suppliers that have finally gotten to the point where our system is actually an extension of their system. And we're working on one transaction at a time: product availability, pricing, acknowledgments, shipping acknowledgments, the verification on RGAs. Oh my gosh, it'd be great if we never had an RGA, but at least now we can actually go through a validation point. And there's so many other things that we could do with manufacturers. Now, does that take away from their website? Absolutely not. We still need configurators and marketing information about new products, but for the day-to-day person that's on a counter and they've got 5 people deep and there's a person that's waiting to get the heck out of there and they need a quick answer on a product, how long it's going to take, what's the lead time, and all you want to do is just ping the manufacturer, come back and say, I've got 10,000 in Tennessee, I can have it here tomorrow. And that's good enough. But instead I have to just Alt-Tab, bring up the browser, oh my gosh, what's my, pull a little sticky off that's got the manufacturer's password on it, and everybody else can see it. And it's just, so to get away from that, I think Distributor Systems really, in my opinion, should be an extension of the manufacturers, and that's where we're trying
I
to shoot.
totally agree with that.
Yes.
That the further we get into the, technologies, the more connected we need to be, whether that's through the systems with the vendor, to the distributor, all the way to the contractor level, and then you start adding in the Internet of Things and you start creating more connections. We're having a hard time connecting with each other in the channel. We got to solve some of those issues before we can really take advantage of the Internet of Things.
I mean, it would be great if when a manufacturer comes out with a new product, that information is pushed to the distributor system, because I know there's some challenges. You don't want that to get out in the market, but if it's electronic, you could put it on our system. We wouldn't even know it was there. So, I mean, it's there. Now it's loaded. And the marketing information, how cool. All our salespeople have tablets, our CRM solutions, and blammo. Now the PDF shows up on the scheduled date that, wow, here's a new product right here. I can start showing it to customers. I mean, just having that amount of information coming direct into the system would be
And do you feel like we're kind of set in our ways in terms of the EDI transactions? I mean, that's where I started my career, and I see a lot of value to EDI, but I also see the changing times in terms of that real-time response.
It's got to be real time.
Right, and so EDI isn't necessarily conducive for that.
Depending on how you do it. But
Well,
it can
I
be.
know, there's some of that. But in terms of getting those web services where the connections are seamless.
That is correct.
I think is critical for our channel.
Absolutely.
Any other?
You know, one thing that we're doing, that I'm seeing that I'm getting more involved in on the manufacturer side is new vendors and products that are coming out. There's, you said Internet of Things, lighting, lighting control systems and how everything is being tapped into the network now and controlling all of that. And it's, for a lot of salespeople, it's scary. So they're bringing in IT now to help them evaluate whether or not this is a good product to bring into the company or a good vendor to partner up with, because it's so technology oriented now. And that's a trend that I've seen in the last few years, especially with the, like I said, all the lighting controls and Internet of Things and Samsung Smart Things and all the, especially on the residential side. All that stuff is pretty simple, but it's not simple if you've never messed with it before, and now you're asked to go sell it.
Yep. And don't you think too that with the technology, you said it earlier in a comment, you said my favorite four-letter word, data, D-A-T-A, data. So, and that fuels all of this technology, whether you're talking about the CRM and you need your customer master data cleansed and normalized, or your vendor data, your product content. How well, let's do it from the manufacturer perspective. How well are manufacturers providing you the content that you need in order to drive your organizations? And I don't mean just from an e-commerce standpoint, because product content today seems to be very focused on what we're going to put in an e-commerce system, and I think it's bigger and broader than that. But comments? Oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if they want to hear all mine, but for us, it's the enhanced data. I mean, the basic ERP data is pretty good. And I will say over the, NAD, NEMA, everybody's been pounding, their drum on getting the data better, and it actually has improved. It's still not where we need it to be, which is why we use outside sources as well as internal, as well as two different data providers, which is a lot of money for a distributor. But so the enhanced part is critical. So for a manufacturer to work on it themselves is one thing, but when you have some lines that, for example, plastic boxes. I mean, for a contractor, if we were just in one market and only one market, and we have one brand, we're one gear house. Believe it or not, even over all the states we're on, we managed to keep one gear. We like to be single line on everything. Mm-hmm. But when you're in certain markets and you go into them, and now you've got a different plastic box provider, I say this is it. You can't get the other one. This is who you are. So once you do that, now from a inventory perspective, purchasing, inside sales, outside sales, even down to the customer, we have to rationalize, well, this box, if you don't have it, now I have this box. And to get the data correct so that the websites know what to bring up, what the customer brand wants to see. Oh, they want to see Carlon, so the Carlon box, oh, they want to see this box, it should come up. And you will just go to if you want to really see, this is what I do at the NADs, is have the manufacturers bring up our website. If you want to see how good your data is, I bring it in, and the way you send it to us is the way we use it. And you'd be surprised how some of the big dogs are sitting in a room and they can't even find their products on our website. And it's not because of the tool, because I can bring up their competitors and we can find stuff really easy. So we've got to continue to working on enhanced data. And I'd like to get it. The problem is the younger users, I call them younger since they're younger than me, they're expecting 3D images now, and they want to see all the warm fuzzy stuff, and and it's tough because I can't get that information. Our website supports it, and now the industrial sites, they're used to seeing what Amazon can do. Well, I've got to be able to provide that same experience that I've been talking about. And that's a challenge when you don't have all the information you need. So that we're continually pushing the manufacturers to keep and it's improving. It's improving. It's slower than I'd like, but I think that's the way it goes with anything. But we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah. Any other comments? Because just our observation is that oftentimes when you have companies that are sharing data, it's usually a lot of times very informal and unstructured. So maybe someone from customer service gets a request for data, they send that information out, and maybe the information that they should be sending should have been in a centralized system. And oftentimes we see the same data sets getting recreated within the organization. And typical example, we have data that comes into the IDW from manufacturers, and a lot of times it's the IT team that's responsible for gathering that
Right.
data, and yet it's marketing who's responsible for the development of the website. And when you look at the content that's available in the IDW versus what's on their website, you start to see some pretty big disparities. And I think that, again, that kind of
Right.
comes back to the importance that we need to have our marketing and IT teams working together.
I'll throw one more thing that we did that kind of forced everybody's hand on it. When you take a counter guy and you change up order entry to where they have to use the manufacturer's data to find product, you find issues real fast.
Yeah.
So we use it internally as well as externally.